excited to be really kind of back in the saddle, or with all my screens here. I feel like I'm in the Millennium Falcon. If you're a Star Wars fan, lots of buttons and things to click and moving screens here, there, and everywhere. This is actually the third time, I think in like 3.5, 4 years, that I've done a Google Ads, both search and display. And I think this is my second, Facebook and Instagram back then, Meta now. A lot has changed, and that's, you can watch those videos and you'll know, if you have watched those old videos, that a lot has changed as far as what you can do, what you can't do, what the steps look like to do things. Both Meta in particular, but Meta and Google have really made things look more complicated because they want you to automate a lot of stuff. And when you do that, your ad shows to a lot of people, whether they are in the target market or not. And also they want your money. So they'll freely spend your money, especially if you do things automated. So today we're really going to go through and we're going to do some 101, some 201, a little bit of 301 level, maybe some graduate level stuff. I think the big thing for today is I want to show you how to create campaigns at not a basic level, but we do want to get in depth a little bit, but specifically creating campaigns for schools, targeting your best fit audience, what your current and future enrollment marketing goals are. I think it's important to distinguish enrollment marketing goals versus enrollment. So as we go through, we're going to be using 3 different schools who volunteered for a Google search campaign, a Google display campaign, and a and a Meta campaign. As we go through each of those, sort of like the old style of, when you're homesick, for example, you watch Price is Right, maybe a soap opera, or when you stay home, put in the chat like what your go-to show is when you, either as a kid or now, what is your go-to homesick television show? Put that in the chat real quick. Oh, the Food Network, Survivor. Yeah, I guess I'm old too, because as I think about it, you're probably binging something on Netflix or Prime or something like that. Cheers. That was the answer to Final Jeopardy, and I got it right the other day. I was very happy about that. So as we go through, I encourage you to use the chat to ask questions. Missy's going to look at those questions and determine, whether she's going to interrupt, whether I should answer it now, if it's something I can answer at the very end, or if it's something a little bit specific to your school, I can kind of answer it online. So a little bit about me. I see a lot of names I don't recognize, which is great to see. Kathy, I know who Kathy is, and Sandy as well, but a lot of people are new to a webinar. Put an N for new in the chat if you've never been in on a webinar with me. Oh wow, that's a lot. I love to see that. So if you haven't been on one or seen any of my stuff, I really hope that this is helpful to you. And if you need more higher level stuff, please contact me in the future. So who am I? I am a former independent school classroom teacher. I was the last to step back when the head of school said we need somebody to help with marketing. I moved into marketing, admissions, communications, financial aid, non-tuition revenue, mostly at smaller schools, mostly at under-enrolled schools. So at least when I started. So I was really a roll your sleeves up, nose to the grindstone, grinding every day, putting signs up on, 4-lane highway medians that said our open house is coming up. And then I really started to dabble, and then more than dabble, into digital marketing. And a lot of my colleagues were like, hey, can you help me with this? And I said, maybe there's something here. And that's really how Truth Tree was born. I think beyond just doing the digital marketing piece, what I'm obsessed with, and something that we do a lot of at Truth Tree, is what we call digital psychology, and really getting into the minds of parents, and actually more so now, and you'll see a little bit later, in the minds of students who are searching, and what they're looking for, what they value, what's going to trigger them to fill out a form, whether it's an inquiry, an application, or to attend an event. So where's my cursor? I've got 3 screens up, so I got to keep good track of where my cursor is. All right, these 2 numbers have grown a lot over the 4 years. 90% of school searches start on a search engine. A large majority of those are on Google. and 94% are going to use are going to use what the internet has to offer as they go through the consideration phase all the way down to the enrollment phase. Now, I say that what's not in that 94% is obviously, does anybody still have a paper application? You don't have to be embarrassed, because I know some schools do, but put a Y in the chat. If you still have available a paper application, put a Y, the letter Y. Nobody. So nobody uses a paper application. So in that 96%, that doesn't include people applying, inquiring, all of those things. They're using online resources to, again, search for, get confirmation that it's a legit school, read reviews, talk to people in, the regional parent group, or even the local parent group to get information. Hey, we're looking at these schools or this school. Anybody have any feedback? Things like that. All right, so now here's something I always love to say when it comes to Meta, and that is, and I'm exaggerating when I say 0%, I'm sure somebody out there has, but essentially nobody is going to Facebook, Instagram, or really any social platform crossing their fingers and saying, I really hope I see an ad for a school, we'll apply there and we'll go to that school. Certainly they do go to social media, and that is a great place to retarget and remarket those families. It's also a great place for sort of introductory ads. Hey, we're Truth Tree Academy. It's nice to meet you. We're K to 12 and we're in this town. No click here to apply, no sort of hard sell, no like super strong call to action. So we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that stuff as we go along. Well, all right. Told you we're going to move quickly. So the first school we're going to use is Ascension Episcopal School. We're going to use this for a Google search ad. So it's pre-K to 3 in Louisiana. They have 600 students enrolled, and they say we believe in balanced excellence in all areas of student experience, and a lot of the things that a lot of schools kind of talk about. So how do we differentiate them in a Google search ad? And how can we, through digital marketing, help them grow enrollment by 10% in grades 1 through 7, particularly focusing on grades 1 through 4. So Missy and I tried to figure it out where we could seamlessly go from one screen to another. But it just didn't work out. I didn't want to mess things up. So with that said, and I'm going to ask in just a second here, who can see a Google ad screen? Yes?
Yes, you're good, Trevor.
Thank you.
We can see
very much. And thank you, Jessica, too. All right. So like I said before, and actually I got off track because something had popped up here. When I was talking about those when you're homesick shows, glad I remembered, because you're like, what were you talking about? And it was when those morning shows that are usually those network shows, they interview a few people, and then they have a chef or a baker on, and they show you how to make it, and then they pop it in the oven, and of course right on top of that is the finished pie, cake, whatever it is that they were using. So I've got the finished pie right here, but I want to show you how to make that. So I want you to know that I'm probably going to throw in just some random words for some things to keep things going. They'll be much less random, in fact, very, very specific when we go into Ascension's Google search ad campaign here. So the first thing is, and I wasn't able to kind of show this, but when you go in, and it's been a long time for me, in the old days, it would say, do you want to, in real tiny print, it would say, do you want to use expert mode? Because they wanted you using their mode. So I don't know, how many of you have never done, put a G in the chat for Google if you've never done Google ads ever, either you or somebody at your school. Wow, a lot of you. So now it's a lot. Now the way it looks is it sort of sets you up with trying to create a profile. I can't do that, because I don't have the right credentials. There's also some things in here that I'll show you how to do that I couldn't do for Ascension because I do not have the right credentials to do that. I don't have an access to their website. I don't have an email address at the school, but I'll show you those things specifically. All right, so we're talking about a Google search ad. You've got these pieces here. Now, something I talk a lot about is you are not a $35 widget. I either buy it or I don't. There's no application process to buy a $35 widget that I might be told, sorry, you're on a wait list, or no. I don't have to, interview for this $35 widget. So a lot of times people are like, oh, we want leads. I always want to send people to your website, to a landing page that you fully control, because the ad may look good, but I don't want to just randomly fill out a lead form, and this goes for Meta as well. I want them experiencing your brand on a page that you fully control, because again, it may say best private school in wherever you are, the ad might, but I might be reluctant to click on that unless I've experienced your brand before. So almost always for search ads, I want website traffic. It's going to be very detailed and specific website traffic, but that's where I want to click right now. All right, we want to get page views. We don't necessarily want people calling. We do, but we want them to call when that landing page says call today. So we've clicked website traffic. We're going to go to continue on down to here. I want to do search. I don't want to do max performance. I know all of these icons. Ooh, we can be on all of these. It's very automated. It only provides you a certain level of control as to what the brand message is, specific messages that are out there. And I've seen a lot of schools, they get sucked into using Performance Max, and it can be cost effective, but really it provides poor branded messages. And I've been able to look at some where you want middle school, for example, and you're a K-12 school, and then the ad pops up in a Google search and it says middle school in, Olney, Maryland. Okay, but you're K-12 and that ad does not say that. So as a parent that doesn't know your school, oh, that's too bad. It's a middle school. I was searching for private school near me and this says middle school, too bad. So a lot of times Performance Max will, I wouldn't use it. So I'm just gonna go with continue. You don't have to click. Oh, I guess they're gonna make me click today. They literally didn't make me click yesterday. We're gonna go with, let's see, you didn't need it yesterday. So we're just gonna put an A here for Ascension. All right, here's another one too. Again, conversions. Love conversions. Love getting inquiries, applications, people signing up for stuff. But again, it is a process. You should not expect a conversion on the first click unless you've got a compelling reason why. Time is running out. There's only 3 spaces left in 3 grades, and if they're looking for that grade, they're going to convert at that time, more likely. Half off tuition, buy one tuition, get one free. Anybody doing half off tuition, buy one, get one free? Anything like that at your schools? Because if you are, definitely do conversions to see what's better, buy one, get one free, or half off tuition. Obviously, if you only have one kid, you want the half off tuition. 4th child free. So, Michelle, are you at a Catholic school or a non-secular school? Yeah. So a lot of times, the parish schools will have something like that. It's very appealing, especially for a family that has multiple students. I've also seen a lot where it's, here's what it is for 1, for 2, for 3, for 4. I haven't really seen anything past 4. So I want to use clicks, all right? I want to get people clicking on the ad. And you can do a set of maximum cost per click. I typically don't like to do that because it's, it's sort of like negotiation. Like, well, what's your highest price? Like, I'm not going to tell you my highest price. I want you to figure things out because they'll bump things up with that. And you can do bid for new customers, but the way Google Ads is set up, it was very much for commerce, e-commerce. You are not e-commerce. So that's really where it differentiates from what a lot of Google Ads are for. It are, medium price services, $300, $400, $500, $5,000 even, where it's, it's a service that you're going to get. It's one time $5,000 is a lot of money, but it's not 20, 25, 30, 50, 70, as I've seen a lot of, schools. And I'm sure some of you are even like 70. Ooh, that's chicken scratch from what I'm used to. So as far as bidding for new customers only, I really want to make sure that we're able to show stuff to people, all of the people that are out there. All right, next, on the next page, there's maybe 1 out of 25 reasons why I wouldn't unclick these. Google loves to auto-click things that you then have to click off of, all right? I almost always unclick these things, particularly because it doesn't show ads in areas that I think reflect the brand of an independent school. If you, and no offense to plumbers, no offense to people that are, selling, fake watches, that'd be a great place to put ads there. I just don't think for most independent schools, leaving these clicked is a good idea. All right, next, location. So unless you are a super duper high transient area, or you are a boarding school, I always like to say people present in or regularly in your included location. The other one is people who are regularly in, or have shown an interest in your area. That could be a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. So I really encourage you, because again, now that I go back to, I'm going to say this for the first time, but this is something that you all know, and that's this. You have a very, very niche service, okay? People have to have kids. They have to live, if you're only draw from the local area, they have to be within a certain sphere of influence that you have. If you're Catholic, if you're Jewish, if you're all girls, obviously we're cutting out part of the population. I know a lot of religious-based schools do serve a larger population than just Episcopal or Jewish. So I always make sure that I click here. It saves you money, and you're gonna see some weird clicks from some weird places for kind of weird reasons as we go through this. So I wanna make sure that I'm gonna enter other location, and I'm gonna do an advanced search. Excuse me. So I'm gonna I like to play around with this, and I really encourage you to kind of play around with locations. You know your locations better, obviously, than I do. It may not be a radius. It may be you draw most of your students from the west of where your school is. So you can put in zip codes, you can put in town names. You may draw students from the west, but there's a pocket there where it's not an ideal fit for your school. Another piece is I love doing transportation specific campaigns. So pinpointing where those radii around a specific bus stop or even train stop is, and making sure, hey, Brookville parents, Ascension has a bus stop at the corner of First and Main. So I always like to make sure that I do either location or radius. So let's do, so we'll do Lafayette, all of Lafayette. And I know there's more to it. So great big area. Ascension would know what the specifics are as to, well, we also, oh gosh, I'm gonna brutalize these names. Villa Plate, that's not the one. I didn't want to use, Eunice. Oh, I know, I've heard of Eunice. So we get students from Eunice. We get students from Generative. So you can specifically target, or you can drop a pin in Generative over here. It's gonna always default to 20. One of the things that you can do, if you're like, there's really just a specific area, you can do 1 mile. But if you want to get really, really specific, and I don't always encourage schools to get super specific with, I think geo-targeting is a fancy term. True 3 always does geo-targeting unless it's a boarding school that is trying to attract students worldwide. But specific to that, what you can do, if you're like, we need it even smaller, you can go to kilometers, and that's gonna, how many households are here? I see some water, maybe these streets have houses, don't know. But if you want that to be super specific, you can do that. So you've got here, you can drop a pin here. And you can have, and if you really want to get fancy and build out specifically, creative ads that are specifically targeting Generate, you can do that. I think anytime that I see, you've seen it on Meta before. Hey, Olney, that's where I used to live in Olney, now I live in Brookville. So, hey, Brookville residents, do you need spring cleaning? Do you want your lawn mowed? Things like that. That catches people's attention. Same thing with a Google search ad. Name of town, hey, parents, things like that. Oh, you're catching my attention. I see a couple questions. Was there anything specific in there, Missy, or can we?
Kayla is asking a question specific to boarding schools about the location piece. So what are the pros and cons of selecting presence or interest for boarding schools on that location option?
Yeah, good question. So it depends on where you are targeting. For boarding schools, yes, I do like to leave it like this. And for boarding schools, and I'm not sure where you are, but let's just say you are in New Hampshire. I don't know why I said it that way.
She's near Buffalo, if that's quicker to type.
There we go. So Buffalo, New York, I was there in September. I got some good wings before going to Hamilton for a football game and then Toronto for Phillies Blue Jays game. So yes, you can absolutely, people who are interested in this area, all of upper New York State, Finger Lakes area, Syracuse, any of that, or it just can be, the Northeast, for example, wherever they're looking. When we get into keywords, obviously we want them to be looking for a boarding school, not just people who are interested in that area for whatever it happens to be. All right, I know this is a crazy looking where we're searching, because we've got stuff down here and now we've got stuff up there, but you kind of get the idea of you want to be creative with this. The other piece to location targeting is how many of you, even during this, I mean, it's been 24 minutes and I think we're having some fun here, but how many of you, and be honest, you don't have to write it in the chat, have opened a new tab, maybe go to Amazon, maybe look for something else, and you're at work. So it's not where you live, it's where you work. So you always want to make sure that you're not just targeting the neighborhoods that people live in, but also where they work. So if there's a big hub, the big city that's maybe 20 miles away from you, you want to target that area as well. With those, you obviously want to make sure that you're telling them where you're located. I love ads that say 20 minutes from downtown Philadelphia or something like that, or 7 miles from Memphis, Tennessee, west of Memphis, Tennessee, because that tells people, oh, that's actually near where I am. I'd never heard of the school, because maybe they're 4 miles away from it and you're 3 miles in the other direction, and they don't really have a huge reason to kind of travel in that direction. So I always think that that's a great way to go about that. All right, so we've got our locations. Language, you can do Spanish. Typically, if they're searching in English. All right, audience segments. And remember, this is not like most of the stuff is already open. Audience segments are not automatically open because we want all of your money. So you don't have to, don't segment your audience. We always like to, and these are pre-built in because of the work that we do. So it's good about like saving you time, based on advertisers like you. So you can get pretty granular. I try not to get super granular because Google knows a lot about you, but cookie policies, privacy policies, going into incognito mode and other things, you're still able to do all of these segments. So depending on who you are, and in the case of Ascension, it's more than that. It's more than K to 12. So we can do preschool. And you may even want to do, if you're doing sort of like a hi, how are you? We're not really desperate, not that they're desperate for students, but we're not desperate for students. They're in the market for childcare because in the future, they might be interested in an independent school as well. And you can hover over these and it'll show you what it is. So people interested in enrolling their children in a private primary or secondary school, you can do early childhood education, child care and education. It'll tell you what it is. You're not a nanny, So you might want to, when we get to it, negative keyword, meaning words that will not trigger your ad, words like nanny, childcare, daycare, anything related to that, but we still want to target people who are in the market for those things. Let's do who they are. So parents, good idea if they're parents. And again, so you want to make sure if you're looking for high school and you're looking for right now, you're not trying to target families, for the future, because you really want to make sure that this campaign is for 25, 26. It's kind of hard for high school. I mean, you really do, more 13 to 17. So we can leave it at 13 to 17. Education, marital status, they don't need to be married. Employment, these are all things you can do, but for the most part, you really want to kind of leave this open, because I'm a big believer in lots and lots and lots of keywords. I also like to do targeted, so you can do both of these. Targeted means you narrow the reach of the campaign to the selected segments if you know that that's specifically what it is. If you don't want to do a lot of keywords, for example, if you do want to do a lot of keywords, actually, you can leave it, if you want to do a lot of keywords, let me flip that. If you want to do a lot of keywords, observation is the way to go. If you don't, targeting is the way to go. Never, ever, 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 ever do broad match keywords. You would be shocked to see the words that I have seen, the terms, the search terms that I have seen that have clicked on a school's site because it didn't say that they were a school. And this is something we'll talk about, the headlines you use, caring and nurturing community, a beautiful campus. These could be retirement homes. They could be rehab centers, things like that. And if all they see at first is caring community, we help, whatever it is, you don't want them clicking on your ad and then going into the search terms and saying, why would they click on our ad? I don't get that. So I want to make sure that you never ever use broad match keywords, always phrase match, and in some specific cases, exact match. We'll get to that in a little bit too. All right, more settings. If you're going to do an ad specific for an open house or any sort of event, don't sit there and say, oh, I got to remember at 12 o'clock to turn it off when the open house starts. You can set an end date. That's pretty easy to do. I would suggest doing it the day before. Even that half of a day that ad is running, or even the next day where it says that open house on April 8th, you're like, well, they're like that's going to have a negative effect on your brand. I don't usually mess with any of these things down here. And actually, I like to optimize and use the best, prefer best performing ads, because what we do is we take that information, and then at TruthTree, we typically with our partners start off with a couple of weeks of just Google search ads. We look at the headlines, descriptions, images that are associated with them, and say, these are the best performing headlines and descriptions. So now we're going to take that information, move it into display, move it into Meta, so there is a cohesive brand message wherever those people are going. They're not questioning, like, wait a minute, I saw this and they said they were in this location and served these kids. This one's talking about how they're Christian and this one's talking about their STEM program. You want to be able to do all of those things, but you want to make sure for the most part people know exactly who you are if they're searching for your school. Missy, any questions?
Before you go too far.
Yeah.
We've got a question about specific audience segments tailored for religious schools like Jewish or Catholic. So do you know of specific audience segments tailored for those?
It's hit or miss. So I think it was the one of these campaigns that I worked on for Google. A lot of times it says you're spreading sort of religious information, and they don't like it. So you've got to appeal it. Sometimes you have to appeal it again. To be honest with you, there's sometimes no rhyme or reason why Google's AI catches certain words. So absolutely, you can segment for those things, but a lot of times it gets caught in there. But yes, you can absolutely do it specifically for that. there are families that, so when they start to look for an independent school, there are families who are like, we want a Catholic school. Which Catholic school in the area do we want? We want a Jewish school. Which Jewish school do we want? There are people that say, I'd like an Episcopal school, like we're Episcopalian, but it's not make or break. And then on the other side, like, we're not really looking for a non-secular school, but, and then having worked in Episcopal schools, I know there's varying, there's Episcopal by name. There's also very Episcopal, daily chapel versus like, we did away with chapel a couple of years ago, and there's really no relics in our building. So yeah, absolutely, you can do those. You just need to make sure you go in and check that it hasn't triggered a policy. All right.
One more question.
Yeah.
Sam asked, what do we do if our key offering is something like 4+ or 5+, which messes with the Google keyword match types? I'm guessing that would be like a pre-K4 age range.
Yes. So, good. So parents don't know what, we interviewed parents. What age does preschool begin at? I got anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 and a couple of 1s, but it was about 30-ish% for all of those. Even pre-K, people are like, it's before kindergarten, so it's all of the ages before that. In ads, and you'll see this, I always start with the age 3 to grade 12, age 4 to grade 12. That way they know exactly where you start, and there's not going to be any confusion as to that. You've got TK, you've got, there's another new term, I think in one of the schools here, which was not transitional kindergarten, which is pretty not specific to California, but TK is what happens before kindergarten. Preschool, nursery school, all of those terms. Preschool is the most universal, but what's of course universal to all of that is the child's age. There's no sort of another word for 3 or 4, things like that. Like kindergarten readiness, thanks. Yes, that was what I was thinking of. So, or junior kindergarten, JK, that's another great example. So you want to make sure you're speaking the language of parents, not the internal speak of the school. All right, moving over to here, we do need to get the URL. So let me, come on, learn how to spell Trevor. There. I'm gonna pop their URL in here. Oh, you're gonna let me. So what this is gonna do this is gonna provide a summary of the product and services. This is great. The problem is that it pulls from somewhere, but it's not always super accurate, right? You have to read this, don't assume. And then here's a good example where I would put independent, age 3 to grade 12 school in Lafayette and Youngsville, Louisiana. So you can use that. You don't have to and this is in beta right now. So what this will do is it's going to generate stuff for you. And so high school, cool. Educational programs, okay. Apple distinguished colleges. Maybe. I don't know why they would have Ascension calendar. Who's going to look for the Ascension calendar? Current parent at Ascension. So and it's all broad match. So oof. But people love to scroll down here and see ad strength. Good. Ooh, all I have to do is fill. Oh wait, we got more here. High school program, educational programs. If I sort of roll my eyes when I see the Experience Us. It's got the name of the school, cool. But I don't know what people search for private school near me. And if they see, let me go back to the last one. They see high school program, small class size is awesome. That's what I want. High school program, oh, too bad. I was really looking for preschool, elementary school, middle school. Scroll down, and now in that person's mind, you are a high school program if they didn't know better. So I don't like to do this. I'm going to scrap this, and I am going to skip this. And I'm going to create an ad group. So we're going to put the URL. Usually you want to have a very, very specific landing page as opposed to the home page. You want you would want 3 campaigns: high school, middle school, elementary, or 4 campaigns, preschool as well. You don't want the ads to say, we've got a great preschool, we've got a great kindergarten. You want to make sure that either you're bidding on specific keywords. So if you really need preschool or you really need middle school and someone searches for Episcopal Middle School near me, oh, hello, we want to rank number 1 at the top of page 1. And then if we still want students, Episcopal school near you, or the name of the school because it has Episcopal in it, accepting apps for middle school. Oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Click, then you're more apt to get that conversion. So this is where the keywords are really important. So if we look at it again, they wanted to grow enrollment in 1st and 7th grade. So you're going to put things in like private school near me, private school in the name of the town, independent school, school in. I always really try to school, in and things like that. I mean, they could be looking for a specific school. Public school in, it's still going to show your ad. You're not, I know there's some charter schools on here, but it's really not going to show that. So in addition to private school near independent school near me, independent school with sports, arts, whatever you are known for, if you're looking for, let's just say 1st to 4th grade, because it's just easier, is 1st grade, private school with 1st grade. You can do 2nd grade. I'll just do indie school for my daughter. They may not be looking for an all-girls school, but the more that you can long tail these keywords, because people absolutely do look for their daughter or their son or my high schooler or my preschooler. When the words match, Google's like, ooh, this is very likely to get the click, getting us money. We're going to put it at the top. And they're willing to, in some cases, sacrifice more money coming from ad number 2 to ad number 3 or even ad number 4. I don't think anybody's on here from Fusion, but is anybody competing with Fusion School for Google positioning? Even if you're not a middle and high school and you're not a one-on-one school, if you search private school in an area that has Fusion Academy, does anybody compete with Fusion Academy, or what are some others? Or for preschool, Primrose or Goddard? Anybody put in the chat? We do sometimes. Is everybody asleep? Fusion. That's it. Just one. Fusion, yes. Primrose and Goddard. So they've got big bucks, and you're rarely going to beat them out for spot number 1. And if you actually go in and you look at your at the data, blanking on what it's called, the essentially who you're competing with for certain keywords, you typically will see a lot of these types of schools that have big bucks for their marketing because they're a business first and education second. So let's just say 6th grade here. So 6th grade, no, 6th grade school for my daughter that likes acting. If you've got a great arts program, I would definitely do something like that. More and more and more keywords are better. I'm a firm believer in more keywords are better. Sean says search volume is lower. Yeah, so search volume may be low, but that 1 or 2 or 5 people, if it matches almost exactly what they're searching for, you are more inclined to get that click, because it may not say it in the ad. Like, we're accepting 6th graders and we've got an arts program. The assumption is if I look for something specific, whether it's in the sponsored group or organically, that should have what I'm looking for. If it doesn't, Google knows that, and Google penalizes those businesses that try to, like I know Goddard, for example. Goddard bids on Montessori school in their ads. Goddard is not a Montessori school, but they know there's a high search volume for Montessori and they want to capture some of that audience. Even with the low search stuff, it's Google's way of saying, hey, not only a lot of people are looking at that, so why don't you cut out some of your keywords, just do private school, independent school. things like that, and everything will be great. And really, that's not the case. So we've got a couple of keywords in here. What we're going to do is
question.
Yeah.
Hey, jumping in, sorry. A couple people have asked, is there a limit to how many keywords you can put in that box?
I have never found a limit to keywords. In some cases, some of our school partners have upwards of 100 keywords. It's usually a K to 12 school in a bigger market where there's a lot of expensive competition, whether it's a school, a tutoring agency, online products for parents, for their toddler, for their preschooler, things like that. You're going to see a lot of competition for that, for more general keywords. So sky's the limit, really.
And would you say that more keywords costs more from your ad budget?
No, I would say no. I haven't seen a time where it's more. It's really just about competition. So the longer tail the keyword is, typically the better, because if it matches more of what the person is looking for, then Google wants to show that above the fold on page 1. Obviously, if your daily budget's not like $2 for a search ad, and that's not something you want. All right, I'm not going to fill out the headlines because I'm going to actually jump over to the one that I've pre-created for Ascension. No, I don't want to fix errors. So this is what I've created for Ascension, and we're going to go to the specific, and you can see some of the keywords that I put in here. All of them are phrase match. You don't have to put the quote marks around them when you fill them in. Once you put them all in, you can go here and you can edit, go to change match type, and then you can choose exact match or phrase match. So, and then it'll say, do you want to keep, and then it's also, if I changed it to, you're going to keep spinny balling. If I changed it to exact match, for example, which, yeah, run in the background, it'll be like, do you still want to keep the other ones you have? And no. You also want to do negative keywords. These are important too. So in Buffalo, Canada allows people to search for private school in Toronto, and that may bleed over into Buffalo as well. So in Buffalo, you may see people clicking from Canada that they're just looking for private school, and you're like, I don't really want that. All right, going back to, so this is a great place where you can do all of your keywords. So you can see here, I did private school admissions, religious school, private school near me, prep school near me, on down to Episcopal school. And I didn't put every single one, but you can see here I did do private school first grade, private school second grade, private school third grade. Now, if I went back out and you really need second and third grade, you really need second and third grade, you can change the bid strategy. So now I'm going from 101, 201 to really 301. And that is changing the bid strategy. So if someone searches for Episcopal school with openings in second grade, I know that's very specific, you want to spend $10 on that click because the return is very likely to be high. So what you can do is, oh, I don't want that. Where did you go? Oh, I'm in the, back up campaigns. Sorry. So you can change the bid strategy, and it gets a little specific as to how to do this. So what you want to do is you're going to do a manual CPC, manual cost per click. And I'm going to save that, and I think it's going to tell me I can't do that at this. Oh, actually it allowed it. So now that I've done that, I can actually go back in, and it may not catch it because it's like you haven't really refreshed your page yet, is you can go back in to here, go to the keywords, and you really need second grade. So what you can do is click on that, or if it's first grade, and anything with second or first grade, you can change max bid, and you can increase it by a dollar amount. I typically like to do a percentage. Oh, it's only giving me increased bids. So I'll do like $10. And it may pop up on the screen that it says cannot do it in right there. Your change was not applicable because it won't allow you to change it as you've already created the campaign. It's like, whoop, can't back up now. You've already created your bid strategy. Everything we put in here is based on your bid strategy. But that's a great way to be able to bid specifically on keywords that you need the most. Does that make sense? All right, going back to this one, and we're going to look at we are going to look at the ad itself, and then we will take a quick break and then come back, do a display ad, which takes a little bit less time, and we're going to skip some of this because we've already gone over this. All right, one thing is I don't have access to this, but you can put your name here above the URL, and you can put your logo here where you see I assume it's the Earth here. So that's a great place to put your name so you don't have to necessarily put it as a headline. I also like to use the display path for two things. One, it shows me what URL people clicked on to come to the website and what they did. And it also gives a little bit of extra room to let them know that this is a private school. It says Ascension Blue Gators. That doesn't say school in it. So if I put private school or independent school, it's not always going to show up. I can't highlight it, but if you can see over here where my cursor is, all that space is a great way to alert people as to what this is. So if they're looking for a charter school, a public school, and they see, and the ad pops up because the keyword was school near you, and they see this and it doesn't have, oh, you know what I did? I pinned that. So I'm going to unpin that, and then it should come on. You're really good. There we go. So 3 amazing campuses. I loved all the teachers. This could be any kind of school here. They're not as apt to read the description. They're really focused on this part here. Hopefully, as they read from top to bottom, they see private school and they're like, oh, we don't have, we're looking for a charter school or a public school. So I love to use that space for that. The other thing to really pay attention to when you're filling out your headlines is what do they look like in the order that they're at? So learn what an AND school is. That's one of Ascension's like brand messages, private school near you. Do any of these not really go together? Expect educational excellence, private school with opening. So I took some liberties with these and the other schools that we're going to use. Don't worry about ad strength. Again, the more you do these things, the more money is spent, and it's not really that good. So for example, you can view ideas. It wants you to use as a headline, private kindergarten school. Nobody really says, oh, my kid goes to a private kindergarten school. They say, my kid goes to a private kindergarten private school. Private school in my parish. Usually, well, actually, that's right. Parish, that's what they use in that part of the country. Christian high school, you're more than a high school. So even if you are just looking for high school students and people search for private school near me, you want to make sure that it says age 3 to grade 12. Then you might want to put like openings in our high school for this year. So I put all of these in. You don't need to do 15. It's going to tell you, oh, you didn't do all 15. 7, 8 tops. Because again, I go back to this and say, this was meant for e-commerce. And if you sell 25 different things, you're going to want to have 2 campaigns, one for 15 and one for the other 10. And then the same thing with the descriptions here. Now, I love to make things stand out. So things like quotes. If you have a program that is a trademarked, I mean, that stands out. If you have like a rights reserve program, anytime that you can make stuff stand out with the words that other advertisers are using, you want to do that. So, and frankly, people love trademark programs. They love exclusive programs as well.
Question,
these are, yeah.
Trevor. Hey, so someone is asking, when they've done Google Ads in the past, if they use Christian school or Catholic school in the ad copy, they're often flagged by the religious policy. Do you know a workaround for that or a suggestion from your experience?
Appeal it, and then ask for a human being to do it. And it still may not happen. There's not always a huge rhyme or reason for that. We work with Jewish schools, Catholic schools, Episcopal schools, Waldorf not as much as the others. Catholic schools and Jewish schools get flagged the most. And we've had ones that will appeal it and it gets through. If not, you're still an independent school, and you can a lot of times we'll put that in the description or even in a site link. Headlines, they're more sensitive to headlines. So, that's one of the unfortunate things. The other unfortunate thing is Ascension Episcopal School won't fit. So when you put the name of the organization in here in the beginning, some of them don't fit. So if you're going to change your school's name, make sure it's less than, I think, 25 or 30 characters, less than 30 characters if you're going to change your school's name. That's why it's, if you're NCS or APA or APA, people don't know what that means. So I would say put as much of that information as possible, but it has to be, so if I was to try to do, I can't get access. If I click here, it's going to say, it's going to ask me to verify. If I were to click these tasks, Ascension would be very upset with me because it may give me temporary ownership of the school's account, and I would be beside myself. So I'm not going to click there. But that's where you can put those things. So again, there's not a great workaround for that except for appealing it and then really appealing it again. Down here, last thing before we take a quick break is site links. So site links, they don't show up as much as they used to, particularly on the phone or the computer. You'll see two showed up here. Typically, you're only going to see the site links if you are the top sponsored ad. But this is one where I see a lot of schools, they'll inquire today, apply now, sign up for a tour. Whoa, this is a much better space, especially since they're just searching for private school near me, to talk about the things that you do best. So one of the workarounds might be, I've never seen spiritual or religious life flagged in a site link. I'm sure it's happened, but here's a place where you could do that. Now it's only going to matter if it shows up, as the top one, but you see it's only showing two. Sometimes there's a good example, 3, you might get 4.
I'm listening to.
What's that?
Sorry, someone had unmuted on accident.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
So these are the site links. This is where, if you are specifically targeting grades 1 through 4, you can put more information here that's specific to grades 1 through 4. So check out our elementary school. When you're able to do this, and you can get access to this, where you can put your name, logo, and you can put an image, and I'm sure some of you have seen this, with this ad, over here in this space, you'll be able to see an image. If you're looking for grades 1 through 4, you want to have children that are in grades 1 through 4 here. So just a quick recap of specifically to grades 1 through 4. You don't want your ad to say, Episcopal Elementary School or elementary school near you. You want it to say all the grades. You can have some of the headlines be more geared towards parents that are looking for grades 1 through 4. I don't know that they're going to be as responsive to 100% college acceptance rate. Some obviously will, they're looking for, long-term in the future. But for most parents in grades 1 through 4, that's not something as super appealing to them. So I really have a lot of headlines in that direction. Make sure your keywords, you're getting every aspect of anything an elementary school parent would search for. As a former student, love quotes. I love putting quotes in here. If somebody sees a quote mark, like, what's going on here? But one thing you could do for another quote is my first grader, let's advance it. My third grader loves the outdoor time as a part of science class. So, I mean, it's not necessarily going to appeal to a high school parent, but that's, one of the little trade-offs if that's really what you're trying to get to. You can do more asset types. I'm not a huge, none of this stuff really shows up. I did a couple of call outs for arts, athletics, social emotional piece, character ed, family life, things like that. Put them in there, but it's rarely going to show up. It really just helps Google sort of find those things. All right, let's jump into Google Display Campaign. Make sure I have the right screen up. And it just so happens we had the schools that volunteered. It just so happened that we had a handful of Episcopal schools. So we're going to go back to Episcopal schools for a Google display ad. We're going to be going over St. Patrick's Episcopal Day School. They're a TK to 8. TK is transitional kindergarten. They're in Thousand Oaks, California. They have 154 students enrolled. Now, they're in a good position. They're trying to grow their enrollment from 154 to 160. So with digital display ads, this is a great opportunity, a very inexpensive opportunity to get a lot of brand awareness around your school. All right, I don't go to news, sports, any of those websites. We're really hoping to see like an ad at the top in the sidebar and say, wow, like there's that school that we visited their webpage a couple days ago, or there's that school, or there's a school where we happen to be in the market for a school. So, and they are specifically looking for, to bring in those grades, kindergarten readiness, kindergarten and grade 6. So with that, we're gonna build out a digital display campaign. And again, I've already pre-created one. So we're gonna go in and we are going to create a lot of it. And we're then gonna flip over to the other one to show you more of the finished product. So with display, you can do website traffic, but again, you're not going to get a ton of website traffic. So awareness and consideration, a broader audience for K-12 schools that are looking for just brand awareness, I would click here. I'm only going to click here. Let's just pretend that they're totally full and they just want brand awareness and future consideration. Just as it's not going to really go in a different direction necessarily in what I choose. But video, absolutely. Video is great, but again, nobody's going to YouTube necessarily looking for a school. If they're in the market, and of course they go to a video or they go to a channel, that's how do I find a private school? Yeah, you absolutely want your video to be there, but you can do that with display, with traditional display as well. All right, so they are in Thousand Oaks, California. Again, present in or interested in. If St. Patrick's is like, hey, we got a lot of people coming from here, there, and everywhere, then yeah, leave it at this. And you may just want to do people interested in Thousand Oaks. So that's really where you don't want to kind of branch off into the larger area from where you're located, Oaks. So, obviously you would want to look at, why is it not showing me there we go. So, do you just draw from Thousand Oaks? Do you draw from western part of Los Angeles, Santa Clarita, or 95% of your family is just from Thousand Oaks? If you're trying a great thing, and this is for search as well, a bunch of new luxury houses just went up in Fillmore right here. You can specifically target Fillmore. Heck, if they're all brand, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. There's a great Episcopal school down the block. So things like that, and it's super cheap to do those things. Again, that's an attention grabber. They see that that's where you are. You've all seen ads before that call out stuff about you, where you live. You've gotten emails like that as well, because the internet knows that information. So we'll just leave it at 1,000. Why is it not? Let me just leave it at 1,000 Oaks. Because I've already got it in there. So again, if you want to draw from a larger area or people moving to the area, you can leave it here. And of course, they're recommending that. But again, you are a niche service that's very, very expensive. And chances are they're not just going to choose the top ad, or they're going to choose, in this case, the display ad that they want. All right, this is really where the most important thing of all of these, and especially for schools, it says more settings. People are like, more settings, whatever. Or it'll say like advanced settings, start date, dynamic ads. I'm not, device. I don't know if you want to like target just computers, or you want to do tablets or mobile phones. The last one here is so important. And that, the last one, what happened to it? Where did it go? Oh, show content exclusions. This is very important, and you need to read it carefully. Opt out of showing your ads on content that doesn't fit. You're not going to click G or PG. You can. Here, content not yet labeled here. I once saw who remembers, put it in the chat if you remember the article, it was like 5 years ago, the article in The Atlantic written by a teacher that trashed private schools in general, particularly one in New York City, as being, just racist and biased and all of those things. And that's how private schools were. Who remembers that Atlantic article from like 3, 4, 5 years ago? Anybody? Put in the chat if you remember that. Or maybe you're just nodding your head, which is fine too. As I'm reading this article, thanks, Ruth. As I'm reading this article, and it goes between paragraph and paragraph, I see an ad for an independent school in Northern Virginia. And I immediately, because I know the head of school there, I called up and said, hey, check your email. You may want to make sure that you're not on The Atlantic, because right in the middle of this article is an ad for the school. I'm already like private schools are terrible. And then immediately there's an ad in there. This, I think, for display ads is one of the most important things for your brand, to make sure it's not showing up in places you don't want it to show up. So I click almost all of these. Tragedy, conflict, maybe, if you're an LD school or social, you really work with kids that have social emotional issues, maybe sensitive social issues, because they're looking for ways to help. All of these, I'm clicking. Live stream videos, who knows what's going to happen in those. Embedded YouTube videos, I don't know. Below the fold, it's fine. I mean, you're going to get impressions there, but people get sort of a scrolling fatigue. So if you do this piece, you can. Park domains are usually trash, and in videos, it depends on what you're doing. So please, content exclusion, it's under more settings. Make sure you're doing that as you go through. You can do a campaign URL specific to this traffic. I think it's always important to know, just like with search and with Meta, where the ads are coming from, so you can really gauge not necessarily conversions, but what's the engagement on the site? How are they did they misclick? Are they kicking tires? Are they we're really starting to gear up and looking at independent schools? Or we are in the mix, we have a list of 4 and this ad just happened to pop up and I clicked on it and it looks really good. We hadn't heard of it. We're gonna put this school, at least for now, on our list. So it's really important to do all of those things. I think I got most of what I want out of this page. One thing I did forget to talk about with search ads is your daily budget. I would recommend, depending on your market, the grades that you serve, the area in which you serve. So boarding schools, most of the world. New York City, you've got a lot more people searching for private schools. Somewhere in the middle of North Dakota, you may just be the only school in town. Start low, then move up. And it's always going to say like, oh, you would have a much better results if you increased your budget. Well, maybe, maybe not. For search ads, I would say anywhere between $25 a day to really $8 or $9 a day total. I need to go with total. If you're a small school that serves 5 or 6 grades, you're a specialized school and you're in a smaller market, $5, $6, $7 a day for Google search, you're good. For this, $1, $2, $3. I wouldn't go above $3 for any display campaign, period, end of story, if you do it correctly. So for example, I clicked all of that stuff. So there's a whole bunch of websites and a whole bunch of YouTube sites or videos that my ad is not going to show on. So enter your viewable CPM. I'm going to put $1 here. And then I'm going to move on. Targeting, love to do the targeting. The most important piece of targeting, if you want students now, so, going up by 6, great. But if you really are like, man, the yield was not what we thought it was going to be for a handful of grades. We need parents. There's a smaller amount in most of the US. We need parents who are searching right now for schools. Well, what's great is you can target niche. You can target private school review. You can target, and you can scroll down here. You may not see all of them, but private school review, you can target great schools. And I don't want to mess up what I'm seeing here, but if you go to niche right now, you go to great schools, you go to School Digger, great schools, you can even do public school review. So these sites are where people go to search for schools. Now they may be looking for a few years in the future, but they may also be looking for right now. So you can show your display ads to people that are going to these sites within the area that you have decided that is the radius or the specific locations that you're looking for. For whatever reason these days, private school review, and I talked to them, I said, hey, you're not showing up. Privateschoolreview.com. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to enter it as that. So I would do, if it doesn't show up, and it does show Google Ads, and I pull it into the screen, but I know that would mess things up. If I open a new tab, can you see the new tab? Or do you just see the...
We can see the new tab.
Oh, I can? Okay, cool. So, let's go back to the home page. So if I look for a school in, no, let's do K-12. Private school, I can't spell today. Schools, NYC, I think that'll probably help me out here. So we'll do K-12 private academy. You can do if they're not paying niche, which it looks like they are paying niche because I'm not seeing an ad. You can have ads that are in here. If I'm on the outside pages, you can see those as well. They've really clamped down on showing ads, but private school review has an abundance of placements where you can see ads. So like right here, there's a tutoring agency that's right here. Here's another one, and I think it's the same one here. So you're getting ads above the fold here, and then you're also getting one that's just one scroll down right here. What we love to do is if we are targeting private school review, niche, great schools, for our partners, we'll create ads specifically this size. So I think 270 by 90. This is, I think, 650 by 250. But you can make specific ads that show up here and say, I only want these size ads showing on this website or websites or the websites you want to target. And that way they're like, okay, I mean, it may show up down here, but I don't see any other on the home page. So there's a good chance that your ad will show up here above the fold and you'll get that click. So it's as opposed to if there's any sort of 250 by 2 like box size ad. So let's just say that one of these was an ad that was mixed in here, which you may see. It's all the way down here at the beginning. The way you can tell if a website allows for display ads is you'll usually see a little megaphone in the corner, and you can click on it, and you can choose whether to see it or not. That's my Amazon account. Or you can click here, and well, they're doing it a little bit different. But usually what it'll say is, it's a Google ad. Do you want to see ads like this anymore moving forward? So, and you can see me back on this page, right? Missy?
Yes.
Just making sure.
Yep.
So the other thing is, besides these, is if you're just looking for more brand awareness, what are the local mom, dad blogs, child resources. So one of the things that I would do would be parent resources in, let's say, Thousand Oaks, CA. And then I'll scroll down here and say, okay, well, I don't think Psychology Today allows for ads. And then maybe Psychology Report for some schools, may not be mission appropriate. But are there mom blogs? Are there, different websites that people just in that town go to that do allow for Google ads? And then really the only way, you can test it within display campaigns, but I think going on the site itself, because it's not always accurate when you're on here, is to go and try to see if they, number one, accept ads, like ads that Google ads, not ones that they say you have to pay us and we will put that on here by ourselves. So I think that is really important. Not only the placement, but you can do audience segments. So back, just like with Google search ads. So you can do people that are in the market for primary and private school, and then it'll start to early childhood. And then you can do ad targeting, demographics. So I think this is always a good one too. So if you're looking for kindergarten, kindergarten readiness and kindergarten, you can take out the 18 to 24, probably take out these here. Never unclick the unknown, because the unknown is a bigger group than ever. Privacy policies, all of that stuff is making, when you see results, you'll see female, male, unknown, age, all the ages, and then unknown. You know your area better than I do. If you have a lot of financial aid, you may want to keep all of these here. If you're like, we have no financial aid and we're the most expensive school in the market, you may just want to target top 10 and then unknown. Or if you're like, hey, listen, we've got 10 spots left, we need full pay families only, you may want to unclick the unknown. So with all of these pieces, it's people searching for a school. In this specific case, they have to, go to one of these pages here, and they have to meet the criteria that we have here. It makes for a very, very small audience, but for $1, $2 a day, Google's like, listen, if we can even make a couple cents off of this, we're happy to. That's really where you've got to experiment. Like, where are these, where are the ads showing, how many impressions there are. But even with $3, you may get 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 impressions a day. You should really only expect 0.3 to 0.7 click-through rate. So you're not going to have a lot of people click on those ads, but it is great, great, great for brand awareness. And obviously you can control a lot of your message, what the graphics look like, all of those things within those ads. More questions. It may tell me I haven't done enough here, and it hasn't. So I put some, I've already put some of the stuff in here. We've got the name of the school here, and then the headlines. So let's back out, as I've showed you how to do this, and let's jump into campaign that I created for them, which is here, and I want to show you what the ad looks like. So I think I grabbed some. I don't think I grabbed any stock images. So to the earlier question, that's why I kind of wanted to wait. Religious belief in personalized advertising. So it is more details. So you would have to go back out and you got to fiddle with stuff. It's not the word St. Patrick's School, and it's not necessarily going to tell you what it is that is preventing this ad, or would prevent this ad from going live. But again, they're looking for primarily kindergarten readiness and TK. So even though in here, this is, to me, is more TK. This is probably a little bit more middle school. But you can show, if you wanted to create two different campaigns, one specifically for people that are looking for more grade 6, although it's a very small number. But the best things to do with display ads are, it's the image that you are portraying. You want people to see their child essentially at your school. And if I have a preschooler and I see, a 17-year-old, a couple of 17-year-old students, you're a school, but I'm not seeing my child there. And then really kind of vice versa. Scrolling. So the other thing is you'll be able to see, now these are all Google generated display ads. Google prefers their ad sizes and will typically charge a little bit more or more for ads that you have created yourself. The reason being is that, their formula says, hey, we're more likely, our data shows that this ad is more likely to be clicked than another one. Another little trick, I'm sure a lot of you graphic designers know that, this intentionally, I've got her looking down and him looking down. Your eyes then go down to the content that we've created. There we go. The more that you can do that, the better. Faces looking at cameras used to be like, oh, it looks so posed. Data has shown that that's coming back into vogue as long as it is a natural image. You don't want to have that canned rainbow of students that, makes up 90% of the population of the school, and then the other 3 students make up 10%. Parents will come onto campus and pick up on that very, very quickly. So I like the fact that they only have 5 headlines here. And I was really happy to see that the ad strength they thought was good. And that's without adding a video to this. So kindergarten readiness to grade 8. Now, I don't know specifically, Jamie, if kindergarten readiness is a term that is well known and used in your area. If it is, kindergarten readiness to grade 8, great. I, as a parent living in Maryland, don't know what that means. So that's really where I would want to make sure, and I know what TK means, but that's really where I always would say, and I don't know if it's age 3 or 4 or 2, but age 4, grade 8, and that gives you more room. I'll do that. I'll throw some stuff in there, just so I can kind of go on. But you really want to make sure that each one of these headlines, ask yourself, if we're looking for kindergarten readiness or TK and kindergarten, would this headline capture the attention of a kindergarten parent? Would this one here, you really want to make sure that it's going to capture their attention. With all of these, search, display, and meta that we're going to get into in a minute, you want to make sure that the landing page has the same theme that the ad has. If you're looking for TK and kindergarten, you don't want to have all kindergarten stuff on the landing page, but you want to have more images, information, nurturing teachers, caring community. Those are typically things that elementary and preschool parents are looking for, rather than how many AP courses you have, how many students went to Harvard in the last 5 years, things like that. There obviously is a subset of that, but this is a great opportunity to showcase that aspect of it. And you can do those on the last page. You can do keywords like kindergarten readiness, TK, preschool, pre-kindergarten, all of those things. And you can, instead of or, you can do, they have to have this household income, they have to be a parent, and they have to have searched for these keywords at some point, and they have to go to niche, private school review, great schools, and it's gonna super narrow who you're looking for. But you can always say, all right, it's not showing to anybody. Where can we sort of loosen up? Oh yeah, age 4 is, oh good, I'm glad age 4 is better. So I think, again, it could be somebody moving to California and they don't know what TK or transitional kindergarten means. I'm an ADHD kid, if you haven't noticed that yet. And I remember Mrs. Pacone told my mom, like, Trevor's not ready for, I'm a September 29th kid, so that had something to do with it. But like, Trevor's not ready for kindergarten. We're gonna send him to transitional kindergarten. It was where, the cream of the crop did not go. So if I move to that area and I see TK, it's like, oh, okay, so maybe it's a school for kids that like struggle learning a little bit. You don't want there to be any of that based on how they think. So I always suggest starting with the age that you start at if it's before kindergarten. So I put some, I love to be able to call out, like you can see the ad right here. It said, and I'm not gonna, Conoho Valley parents, hey Kona, I may be brutalizing that, but if I'm in that valley and I see this and I'm remotely looking for a school, I'm going to click here to learn more. So there's a more of an opportunity because you're calling that person out, and it's been established that this parent, through the targeting that we did, is looking for that school. You can do learn more. You can do, not visit site. I always try to steer away from apply now. I don't know anybody who's going to say like, hey, my name's Trevor. Like, do you want to get married? Like, whoa, let's talk a little bit. Maybe go out on a date. You look like not like a crazy person, but I need to get to know you a little bit better. So unless, it's at the end of the stuff, or you're doing a very segmented ad where these people have inquired, and you need a big enough list, but inquired but not yet applied, something like this might be like, oh, okay, we'll apply now. But for the most part, learn more. You can do see more, sign up if you're doing a specific open house or event. Would you use apply now for a remarketing ad? Absolutely. I mean, not all the time, but yes. Remarketing, yes. So the way I define it, and other people will do it differently. Remarketing is you've already marketed to them. They've been to your site. They've experienced you online. You are then remarketing to them. Retargeting is when people are searching for a private school or charter school, and you are now saying, we know that you're looking for a school. We want to now serve you ads. That's one I would not do. Retargeting or just general brand awareness. Hi, we're a school. It's nice to meet you. And on that piece there, and then we're going to move over to Meta, is if you start at TK, age 4, and you're running Google display ads, there are a lot of indicators that a parent is expecting. They immediately go online, and you can tell pretty quickly that what they're shopping for or looking for, topics they're researching. That is a great population to just show an ad. You $1, put $1 a day behind that campaign just to get that brand awareness for that parent that's expecting, that just given birth, that has an infant, that has a toddler. The more you can show them your, hey, how you doing? Or give them some free content, like 5 things I wish I knew before I had my baby. We had a content piece for one of our partners in the Houston area, like 10,000 clicks within like 2 months. Because every expecting parent, not every, most expecting parents, that's really, they're looking for stuff to be as great a parents as possible. Any questions about display ads? And then a lot of these things you can use auto-generated video. I don't like to do that. Use asset enhancements. I really like to click. If it's pre-clicked, you really need to look closely if that's what you want. They're pre-clicking things because it's going to show in more places. And we've already established you don't want stuff showing in more places. All right, we're going to move on to High Mowing. They are a Waldorf preschool to grade 12 in Wilton, New Hampshire. 360 students, if I remember correctly, and we'll see this in here. I think they're the only Waldorf school, I think, in New Hampshire, in New England.
They're the only Waldorf boarding school in North America.
North America. Oh, boarding school. That makes
Waldorf
sense.
boarding. Correct.
All right, we want to increase high school boarding. That was the goal that they wanted. So, I don't have any numbers in front of me. All I know from a lot of qualitative feedback and some quantitative data based on how kids talk, that we're creeping into a space where 40-60, 50-50, it's the students, especially for boarding schools, that are driving the search. How many of you, and maybe put 80-20, 50-50, student first, parent second, what would you say is the percentage at your school of student searching versus parent searching? Put it in the chat. Student search first. So if we see about 40% zero. Oh, interesting. Oh, there we go. There's a 50-50. I hope, Ryan, you didn't put that in there just to make me feel better. 90-10. I think, we are seeing a lot more of them, not necessarily inquiring, because usually that's the parent's job to do, but the parents are saying, I really like, I was doing my research, I like this school because they have hockey, or this one has a annual trip to somewhere in the world. I'm interested in this school. So they are doing the searching, and they are on Instagram. Smaller amounts of the students are on Facebook, but we can manipulate where they go, or excuse me, where we want the ads to show. So I am just going to go through the one that's geared towards students, and then one towards parents. So I said this at the beginning, I want parents to go to your website where you control the message. Again, I'm not looking for a quick fix. It's a process. I need to learn about your school. So, an app or an Instagram profile or WhatsApp or anything like that, I'm not as inclined to do those things. For students, a little bit more. So there is a little bit of leeway in there, because kids, younger kids, they want instant information. They want to know exactly what this is about. They're going to have their questions. But for the most part, I do want to leave it a little benign. Budgeting for this, $7, $10, $15 tops for Meta. I see a lot of schools, they put 90% of their budget into Meta, 10% into Google search and display. Unless you are full and you just want long tail brand awareness with great storytelling within that ad, great. Nobody goes to Facebook looking for a school. They go to Google and they search private school near me, boarding school in USA, things like that. And then they'll go to social media, try to find some groups or some way to get more information. Students, it's a little bit different. They're going to go to the website. They'll find the website. They'll go there real quick. Then they're going to go to the social media pages to see how, in their minds, how cool the school is. So with that, there's not going to be a lot of them. So you can actually, and you can see here, they're like, your maximum daily spend is $12.25. They'll probably say, you need to add to that budget. This is one where I do feel a little bit more comfortable adding to the budget when we're targeting such a small number of people, because what we're targeting here as we scroll down is 13 to 17-year-olds. When you do that, Google says, great, you can target location, and that is it. For targeting 13 to 17-year-olds, you can target location, and then that is it. Now, one of the things when I first started doing Meta ads is it was pretty straightforward. There wasn't a lot of this stuff here. Use the Advantage Plus audience. Use this. Try this. Unclick this. We suggest you use AI for this. I like to do it manually, and I have found that the quality of the click when you manually do it is far greater than the quality of the click with when you let Meta's AI do it. You're going to get more clicks with that. And you're like, oh, that's what we want. We want more clicks. But the quality of those clicks as they come into your site, if you can track it, because usually once you leave Facebook or Instagram, it automatically flips it off. And maybe a lot of you have seen in your analytics, oh gosh, organic and paid social, they're only staying on the site for 6 seconds. That's not actually accurate. It's just that you're not able to track them anymore. But there are other ways that you can see where they came from and what they did. But back to this specifically, you could get 9.7 lower cost per results. Yes, you can. But again, when you go to Meta, it's a lot of inexpensive e-commerce or products. You are not that. All right, so you can see here that I have identified, I want to target 13 to 17-year-olds, and then you can't do anything else. The other important thing is with all campaigns is I highly, highly recommend you choose manual placement, not advanced placement. When you do manual placement, it allows you to control where, I don't know why it's not showing up for me right now, where your ads show. They should show up on the feed. Oh, here we go. They should show up on the feed. I'm going to just unclick these right away. Facebook and Instagram, and you can decide of your budget what amount of it goes to Instagram or Facebook, or you can create an A/B test where you are choosing Facebook or Instagram. Some of them, they already say we're not going to show it in these places because you're targeting 13 to 14 or 13 to 17-year-olds. I'll unclick them. Other things here for students, yeah, you want to be in Instagram stories, you want to be in Facebook stories, you want to be in Reels. But more of the things down here, search results, which they won't show anyway. So you need to know your audience and where ads are going to show. You're going to get the most out of Reels, Reels, stories for students, and for their parents, you really want it to be in that main feed. All right, they're not interested in looking to the sides. They're focused on what's happening as they scroll down, getting really upset because Facebook is now suggesting all of these pages that you should follow. And now on the app, it has the, just believe it or not, just I want to click here because I just want to see what my friends are doing. It's amazing how many posts they've had in the past 2 weeks. I haven't seen anything because you're feeding me all of this garbage. So that's really where you want to make sure that you are specifically targeting these areas because you have a limited budget. You want these to be in the highest profile areas where people are going to see it. Yeah, so Ryan, you say the parents have the dollars. Absolutely. Usually, I mean, I shouldn't even say that. They're the ones that are saying, here's where we're going to apply. But at the end of the day, I had a parent come to me at my last year at the school. We chose your school because my child liked your outdoor area the best. Now, I'm sure there were other factors, but the fact that a rising kindergarten said, I want to go to this school because I like the playground the best. I mean, and that's not the only instance. If you got a school lunch, whoever has the best school lunch, whatever swag you get when you leave that day, the celebrate, you've been accepted, and now you're going to get all of this great swag and all of these, events going on. Whoever has the best events, a lot of students are choosing it based on that. Let's talk about, and I actually want to jump over to, we'll just jump over right here, the ad creation. So I took a little bit of liberty here in creating content that I put into an image. That's not their, take it if you want it, but explore the natural surroundings with your friends and classmates. So they have a huge, I think it's 300 acres in the wilderness. If that's what you're looking for, that's what you're looking for. This is a very different school than sort of your buttoned up New England uniform, yes sir, no sir, if it's more military, but kind of at least the thinking of that sort of dusty classroom with classic literature and math stuff on the board, these formulas. This is not that school. So you don't want to compete with those and show that school. One of the things I absolutely love to do is talk to the person. And I don't know how well you can see this, but again, this ad is for a student. Best decision, it's kind of hard to see. I'll just read it to you. Best decision ever, said Ryan P., class of 2024. When my parents suggested boarding school for high school, I was like, no way. I love nature and not having to memorize stuff that didn't seem relevant. When I visited High Mowing, I still wasn't sure about it, but now looking back, I can't explain how incredible it was to help me grow as a person and a student. That's me. I don't want to go to a boarding school, and you've just told me that you didn't either, but you loved it there. So now I may be inclined to look more into this school. Hey, Mom, Dad, I found this boarding school called High Mowing. It's a really outdoorsy school. I think we should look into it, or put this one on the list. So anytime you can have a testimonial in a Facebook post, I think is highly engaging, and you're going to see a lot of engagement when they come to the landing page. Frankly, on the landing page, you might even, for this specific campaign, have a picture of Ryan P. Maybe was younger than class of 2024. Ryan P. is now the CEO of this business or something like that. Wow. I mean, he went here and he's, got a kind of a big time job. That's awesome. Jamie, we are having this happen with fifth graders. Parents are bending up to the FOMO of wanting to go to a bigger school. So again, you don't want to, everybody has a target audience. And if you try to be too much to too many people, especially with this, you're going to get the clicks, and it's just going to be people who ghost you. that's why too, I don't love the form fills, because people are like, yeah, sure, I'm interested in this school, give me some information. And then you're chasing your tail trying to catch up to these people that came to this site not looking for a school, provided you their information, and you'll never hear from them again. So as we go through this, you'll probably want to spend a little bit more money for parents, because yes, I mean, parents are doing the bulk of the searching. I love doing A/B testing, and it gives you a lot of different options as to what to A/B test. And I think some people are like, oh, that's a lot of work to do. I'm not going to show you the A/B test, but what I think is great if you have the time, and I recommend you take some time at some point, is to A/B test audience, placement, like where it's Instagram versus Facebook. They usually like to show more to Facebook because Facebook gets more clicks to buy that product, and then that seller's like, oh, I'm making a lot of sales on Instagram. You know, I want to continue to advertise with Meta. You can do custom. I like to do audiences and placement. A little bit of the creative too. I mean, that's one of the things where like, hey, we saw that like people facing the camera and like 1, 2, or 3 kids is kind of blowing up again. And like 5 or 6% we've seen an increase in those getting clicks. So, I mean, it does kind of trend with what's happening out there. So just all of those things over the span of 4 or 5 weeks, you know, you can really start to see what creative, what audience targeting, what placements are working. And that is incredible market research. You can do that with Google Search, Display, and with Meta. And you can say, wow, this image is killing it on all of the platforms. We need to, like, we just randomly chose that picture. This needs to be on our front page of our website. Because again, there's great brand recognition. They go to your website, they see the same image. I think it was a blog or something that I pushed out there on LinkedIn, which was specific to that. And that is, don't worry about you getting tired of seeing an image that you've been using as a primary ad piece for the past 4 years. New parents don't know that. And, you know, once you get sick of it, that's when it's really kind of penetrating the market. So I love doing A/B testing. As we set this campaign up with parents, you can do a lot more of the audience creation. Don't worry about doing advanced. So for them, if they're looking for boarding school and it's like, come to our boarding school, you may want to have a separate campaign for like your local boarding school, you know, where 5 miles from maybe like a larger place than Wilton, New Hampshire, or in Wilton, New Hampshire. But I don't think people within a hour, two hour maybe, are going to be interested in a boarding school where you are. So you may want to negative New Hampshire or just an area around it. Other than that, United States, anywhere in the world. I just did, you know, if we were looking for domestic borders, great. A lot of the international borders have already made decisions because they have to. So that ship to some extent for 25, 26 has sailed. But in the United States, you're still going to have families that are looking for boarding school. We're looking for high school. So, you know, 40 to 58, you can play with this all you want. All genders. So here's another example where I did must and yet it still came up with a large number, which I was kind of surprised about. But interested in boarding school and private school. Now you can click off this and you're going to see this number shrink to 56 to 66,000. You know, 9 to 12-year-olds aren't in high school, but again, if this is more of like a, hey, how you doing? We're a boarding school in New Hampshire. Frankly, I mean, you would even want to do maybe the younger age, but if you're looking for right now, 13 to 17-year-olds probably, and we didn't go down by too much, which is kind of surprising to see. Also must match household incomes, you know, in this area. If you're really, really expensive and you don't have any financial aid available, you probably only want to do the top 10%. So now we're down to 11 to 13,000. I don't know why it still says broad, because it's eventually going to say that's too narrow. So we are able to target this ad to people who are looking for boarding schools, are parents of ages 13 to 17, a lot of household income, and you can add other things into this as well. that own certain cars, that do, that vacation in certain places, maybe have a summer home in New Hampshire. So, hey, we can go up there and stay, we can stay there for the weekend and go to lunch with our kiddo if that's allowed, things like that. So that's actually pretty cool that we would be able to sort of visit, our kiddo at certain points in the year if it's allowed, because we have a house near there. So lots and lots of things that you can specifically target with those things. As I hear my dogs barking, who knows why. Again, we want to make sure that we are targeting the right placements where we're going to get the most activity. And as we go down, again, you can play with these things here. I really just like to keep it at the main feeds. And then we look at the ad. So this is where, the arts, they're the #1 school for the arts in New Hampshire. That's a big deal. I don't know what the other schools are, but they're not #1 because they are. That's a big selling point. So in this case, I'm pointing this towards parents. This could easily be an ad for a student, but we can't target students, 13 to 17-year-olds, other than location. So it's a little bit of a crapshoot. With this one, at least the parent knows if the kid's into the arts. I'll scroll down here. I don't know why Google has done this, where the, oh good, they did open it up. The primary text. I will tell you this right away, Jamie. I put in a bunch of information into ChatGPT, and I think I changed a couple of things, but ChatGPT produced this. So I like to do a little, I provided the information and then I asked it to make it sound more human or geared towards the audience are, uptight, right-leaning parents. Not that you're a right-leaning school, but slightly right-leaning, slightly left-leaning, very left-leaning. So a lot of those things that you can put in there now create the primary text for an ad. You might be an emoji school, you might not be an emoji school. I left them in here for our partners. We kind of get a vibe for the school that we're working with. Some of them like, oh, we love emojis, put them in there. We like to have conversations in our ads, leave them in there. So the first thing we lead with is the arts piece. You don't want to just hang your hat on the arts, because obviously the parents, they don't just like, oh, the arts, that's all we were looking for. Forget about academics. You want to make sure that you are targeting the things that you do best, because if somebody's looking, frankly, there's a limited number of schools in a market. There's a lot more boarding schools in the US if you're looking in the US. Nothing wrong with New Hampshire. We work with a couple boarding schools that are in the South, in Georgia. And one of the things that works really, really well with them is, do you want to go to a boarding school that's, you're not going to freeze your butt off, 4 months a year? Oh, I never thought of that, because, New England seems to be the bastion of boarding schools in the US, but yeah, it's cold there. I'd rather go someplace warm. I never thought of that. Or the parents saying like, well, we never thought of that. Like, he or she is always cold. Maybe they would like those things. So that's something you can put in here as a headline and description. And again, one of the things is, with Instagram, you're not going to get a lot of clicks. You can see that there's a limited amount of space before you get to read more, and people aren't apt to click on Instagram. They're much more apt, to click on Facebook. If you look at typically your Facebook compared to Instagram, you're going to see a lot more impressions and clicks on Facebook, a lot more. Because that's what gets clicks. That's what usually drives conversions, as much as you're going to get conversions on here. A couple other things. You do want to do tracking. Obviously, I don't have codes. I can't install a metapixel on their website. I'm not going to do it on our website. But you absolutely positively want to track everything that's coming into your website, knowing that if you use Google Analytics, you're not going to have exact matched data. You use it essentially as hey, here are the trends with how people are coming to our site, with a few caveats like the tiny amount of time, 4 to 6 seconds, coming from organic and paid social. And the other ad I thought I had it with this one. Oh, I did. Carousel ad. Love carousel ads. So I might not be into the arts, and I wouldn't usually lead with something so narrow as the arts. But project-based learning, hey, I like project-based learning, so I might start with this one. Now I put apply now just because I don't love it. But the other great thing is that all of these links can go to now, not used to be that way, can go to specific pages. So expert teachers, you can go to the faculty page or something about your teachers. This page here, endless outdoors. Again, this is just sort of some stuff that I put in here. Love this picture anyway. It's not sort of in your face and threatening. It's very calming and cool. So I might click on this one. So it's really a matter of, obviously that's our logo because this is Truth Tree's account. But it's a matter of which one of these images and descriptions is going to make me say, ooh, click. So carousel ads give you a lot of ability to do that. So I love the single image picture. I don't love the sort of picture, I forget what it's called, but like where it's just a do of all the pictures. Single image, video is big, I really like carousel, especially you have some very unique programs and you're a more of a niche school. So I would lean more into, for parents, carousel ads. So any questions about meta ads? We've got about 5 minutes.
We've got 2 questions in the chat. So Liz asked, what about geofencing an area for a school that we heard is going to close?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I'm not even going to get into the whole vulturing piece to it. That is one of the more overblown pieces because, there's carpool line from 3 to 3:30. You can target that area or any area. Typically what's going to happen with those is it's going to be like an app or it's going to be on your phone. Okay, so it needs to be an ad on your phone. A lot of times you're going to be spending money for a tiny little ad at the bottom of some game where it just doesn't really mesh with your brand. McDonald's will have it. Click here to download the app. You get a free Big Mac or something like that. That's what it's good for. Other than that, I'm not a huge fan of using that. You can target that area and say, we've got openings, sure, but you don't need to just geo-target that location. In a lot of cases, you can't do that anyway. Stadiums, airports, it needs to be a much bigger venue because Meta and Google are like, listen, there's 40 people, 50 people, 300 people in this space. Unless you're gonna spend $500 per click, it's not worth it to use that ad space for your ad that has such a limited audience. And they know that it's a private school, so like, wait a minute, and there's a whole process and it's expensive. So you're getting a lot of money from us. You're getting a lot of money for us to show this ad if you can make the final conversion. So we're going to spend a lot of money on that.
Okay, and Julie said some people believe Meta ads seem desperate, that no one is going to Meta to get a private school ad. So for those using Meta, how might you respond to the it's desperate vibe or concern?
That's where I don't think it's desperate. I think a lot of great companies advertise on Instagram and Meta. I would just keep it benign. Like, hey, we're a school, it's nice to meet you. If you're retargeting, if you're remarketing or retargeting, that's a little bit more. But if you're really trying to like, please click on this, or like, you don't want to be desperate. You don't want to be desperate. You want to show that, you have, you're in demand, and you don't need to hard sell if you're in demand. Just a quick thing that I like to tell schools as well for open houses. If you have 30 people, 40 people signed up for your open house, put 20 chairs out. Make people stand. If they like, oh my gosh, a lot more people came here. If you put out 60 chairs and 20 show up, like, what's wrong with this school? There's all these empty chairs. So that's just a little side note.
Last question.
Yeah.
Is, speaking of ad copy, what kind of call to actions would you recommend for the Facebook awareness ads, especially during open house season when you're looking at parents versus students who might be engaging?
Right, parents versus students. Sign up. I think sign up is good if they're signing up for an open house. Contact us is okay as well. Learn more is really benign. So back to the other question too. Learn more is fine. Apply now, is a little bit desperate. But even sign up for an open house. Like I wouldn't use that as much. I'm not ready to sign up for an open house. I just want to kind of find out about your stuff. And if sign up takes me to a blank Veracross, Ravenna, whatever you're using, with no information about the school other than what I read in this ad, like I don't know anything about your school. I can't click to your website on this Ravenna dot whatever your school's name is .org, and I'm like, now they're frustrated. And not to get in a whole form thing, but I'm just curious about the school, and you want to know like my business phone number and my kid's current last 2 schools. Like I just want to like what's your school about? Like tell me a little bit about it. So I think the more benign you can be with those, I think, and that's also something that you can A/B test, like which CTA is going to get you the most stuff. All right, we are at the 2 o'clock hour. We're going to be back tomorrow. 12 o'clock, we're doing SEO and AIRO. AIRO is AI results optimization. So you can rank when someone searches for what are the best schools in ChatGPT Gemini. Before we go, we promise 1 winner per day for Enrollment. Enrollment is our marketing intelligence reporting platform. It's great to have. You get it free for a year. There are comments, recommendations, and suggestions that we, TruthTree, have created to put in there so you can look at data and say, how does that compare to this stuff? And we've already got stuff in there. It says, if you see this and you see this, you should consider this. All right, we will be back tomorrow at noon Eastern for SEO and AIRO. If I didn't get to your question, you can email me. I'll put it in the chat real quick. It's just Trevor@TruthTree. And have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for coming.